Okay, so Matt's made my thumbnail yet again in this video, so I would appreciate if you guys gave him a subscription, as sort of appreciation, because he has been doing a really good job. His link will be left in the description, as it always is. So, war tips, tricks, and strategies. Generally in this video, I'm just going to be going over general just war knowledge. Most people will understand this, most people will know it, but just for the few people that don't really know it, it's sort of like a little tips and tricks sort of thing. So, first of all, attack teams, I'll try and keep this under 10 minutes and real fast, quick, and with as much detail as possible, but in a fast fashion. So, first of all, attack teams. You need to have multiple attack teams for whatever you're attacking. Now, honestly, this is pretty much straightforward knowledge, but most people have one attack team and they just use it against everything. That's not what you want to do. You want to have multiple attack teams specialized for certain teams. So if you struggle with RNG teams, you have a Mercer or a Jackie to counter that. If you struggle with a bide team, you might have a bleed team for it, or a heavy control team. And then you really want to have an all-around team. Your all-around team will be, you want to normally have 2 resist mods on it, or maybe 1, depending on how fast your attack team is. You really also want something that will go through anything and at a fast enough pace. So you just normally have that team. You're just going against pretty much anything you're not really sure of. So it basically speeds up things, and honestly, it will increase your win rate, and honestly, it will just help you overall. Because if you can't hit a team, you're pretty much redundant. You might as well just sit down. So beating a team, whether how fast or slow it is, within reason, is always a good thing. So next thing is knowing your weaknesses. Now, when I go into a battle, I know instantly what my weaknesses and what I need to focus on. So in this video right now, you can see Laupo is my weakness. Whenever I see an exhaust character, I'm like, all right, that's my weakness. That's what I got to counter against. So my Doc and Arab are weak to exhaust because Arab gives himself 100% AP and Doc gives AP to other people and himself. So if I see one of them, I'm like, all right, how am I going to counter this? I'll counter it like this, and then I'll attack. So basically, you got to know how to counter what you're doing. If you can't counter with that team, you have another team made to counter it. So that's where making multiple teams comes into effect. Now, also, muscle memory is a massive thing that you got to be able to do. On the screen, you can tell on the bottom row, my Doc and Maggie are in the bottom left. So I know instantly when I go into the battle where my Doc is and where my Maggie is. So instantly they're commanded, gain the AP, and then my Priya. No, then my Arab and Princess can go instantly as well. So that's just muscle memory. When I go into battle, I'm like, all right, I know what my threats are. Bing, bang, and I'm in. I know what my counter is. I know what I'm doing. Now, another thing is, it's not really a massive thing, but it just helps with a few seconds here and there. But it's honestly, don't check weapons and mods if you've been fighting these sort of teams for ages and ages. Now, personally, whenever I see a certain team, I'm just like, all right, I'm pretty much guess what the mods are. Now, if I have a suspicion that the mods might be a little bit different, I will check them, but more than less, I will not check what the mods or weapons are. Now, this is basically because I'm assuming the worst. I'm assuming they have perfect weapons like Impair, Stun, AP Drain, Absolute Defense, and all that. I'm assuming they have that. So I'm going in with the mindset, okay, they have that. How am I going to counter that? So pretty much, less checking. I'm already thinking, all right, this one can do, and I go with it. I know it might seem a little bit odd. You're thinking, well, I need to check what's behind there so I can win. But no, you really don't. Most people have the same mods, weapons, and it's pretty much copy and paste. So copy and paste how you'd normally attack. Pretty simple, right? So defense teams and why you should swap them. Honestly, you need to have loads of defense teams, just swap them in and out. Yeah, so pretty much self-explanatory. So if people are getting too familiar with your team, they're going to know how to attack it. They're going to do the exact same thing over and over, and your team is just going to keep getting blown up and blown up and blown up, ultimately costing you more coins. Now, if you keep swapping your team, however, that means it's going to keep them thinking. They might have a special team for your other team. So by just swapping it up, it makes them, maybe might lose a few tunes here and there, but ultimately it just changes up their attack strategy, and it might slow them down. So yeah, pretty much straightforward, as it is. Next one, mods. Mods it's going to be either selective or well-rounded, depending on what you want. So defense teams, I would specifically have mods for what I think is going to be able to beat it, or what I know can beat it. So I would mod against that. But on attack teams, for example, I would have for my all-round team, I would have multiple resist mods on for what I think is most commonly going to affect me. And then I'll just go in like that. So it's fast, easy, and, overall, I'm going to be protected from most things. Now, honestly, if you got the selective teams, you're going to mod them differently for what you're facing. So for the for the stun RNG teams, you're going to have either confuse or stun resist, whereas on your bleed team, that wouldn't be a high like priority, because you're just going to be attacking like the heavy tanky teams. So mods, it's just have it either well-rounded for your all-around team, and you got to have it specialized for the attack teams you've made. I know it may sound like very common, and why are you telling me this, but honestly, if you really do think about it, it does help a lot. So war strategy, very fast. I'm going to go over this since many people know. AA, BB. If you don't know what that is, General A, everyone goes rounds clockwise. General B, everyone goes round clockwise. And then some people do AB, AB. That's basically General A, General B, round A. Or, you know, same thing, but a different way. And then the last one, which I don't see many people do, is dogpiling. Dogpiling is very uncommon to see. So basically, dogpiling is only used for two things, in my opinion, and that is pretty much dogpiling is for if you see a person you struggle against in war, or you know they're going to be a big threat, you all go on them, all 8 people go on them, and just get them out of the way instantly. That forces them to either coin or to sit down. It's very simple, but yeah. Also, the other reason people would dogpile is if you have a faction that go at similar speed attack-wise, you can go General A. Whenever you get out of General A, you type 1 or something just to give a signal that you're out. And then when the majority of people are out, you move on to the next camp. And then you do the exact same. And then basically, instead of getting like 4 or 5 hits per person on a camp, you would get 8. Meaning you get more points per person you attack pretty much. Well, blow up even. So that's another reason people might do that strategy. Now, coining and canning, I'm going to skip it. It's really fast and quick. Coins can be accumulated by watching videos, 30 a day, so that's 90 coins a day. If you're in Diamond, you get 700 coins a week from being in there, and you might get them from leveling up here and there. Now, for coins, you're going to want to save some for a war, whether it be for buying cans or coining. It is important you do that, because if you need to push, or if you need to basically, if you need to push or help support your faction, you need to be able to coin or get cans to attack. Now, as for cans, there's many ways you can get them. You can get them through farming, just using your 4 attacks, waiting for your faction to finish up. You can hit towers. So basically, there's ways of doing that. Also, blitzes is really good for farming cans. Basically, when you're farming cans, don't use cans. Hit everything you can that gives cans, and then yeah. Also, for this, you got to decide who's coining and who's not. Is it worthwhile everyone coining, only a few people coining, or not? So what I mean by this is, if not everyone can coin, there's no point in them coining back. They're just going to give more points than they're getting back in return. So some people, especially in high factions, they'll be like, all right, so bottom 3, you're not scoring too well. All of you sit down. The rest of us will keep coining and fighting. Now, obviously, you gotta. This only works if you got people that's willing to keep coining, and some people will not be in that position, right? If you haven't got a lot of coins or cans, save it towards the end for the push. Now, honestly, another thing is knowing when to go and stop in wars. So it basically comes into this: if your faction is behind by too much, it's not worth keep following. You're not going to catch up, and ultimately you're going to be wasting time in coins and cans. It's just not worth it. The resource is you're using, it's just not. It's not worthwhile. It's best just to drop, move on, and get some more points elsewhere. Get some more matches in. Now, next thing is towers. Towers can be, attacking towers can give you cans. Not a bad thing to farm. Now, here's the thing that you got to think about when it comes to towers. Towers is very on and off. They can either have really good towers or really bad towers. If it's crit and AP gain ones, it's not worth it, in my opinion. It's really not. But if they have attack and defense ones, if you can beat the faction 100% without towers, that's the plan. You don't really want to waste time on it. You want to go full speed, go through them, get another match in. But you got to think about this with towers. When you're fighting an equal strength faction, are you okay with them having that tower? It might not be useful for you, but are you okay with giving them that advantage? And that's where you got to ask yourself, yes, no, and that's what factors whether you should go for the tower. If your faction is like, yeah, we don't need the towers, they're pretty crappy, you don't need to go for them. But if it's a defense tower or an attack tower, you gotta think, this might give them an advantage, we should take this. Now, the last thing I want to go over for towers is how you want to stack them and play them. So obviously everyone goes for towers at the start of the match, but how you go from there is a different thing. So obviously you have your Abe, or you have your Mirabelle and Abe, or your Mirabelle and Governor, or, you know, just simple tower teams, right? But what you want to do after that is completely up to you. You can either stack it 5 high, or you can go 4 and 1 if you've got another tower, or you can just ghost. Now, ghosting is heavily frowned upon by people, but it's a legitimate way of doing it. So how you'd ghost is you'd get the tower, not place a team, and you'd leave some people on assignments for that tower. So you'd be like, all right, player B and A, you're in charge of looking after that tower. When that timer goes down, you guys need to be in there and grab it for us again. Meaning you keep getting that tower in a rotation over and over and over. Whereas if you stacked it, the enemy is 100% getting that tower next. There's no way you're keeping hold of it, unless you have some really beefy tower teams. Whereas tower teams, I don't think tower teams make much difference, because everyone can attack everything at this point in time. So I don't think tower teams play a massive factor at the moment. Now, another thing is learning when to push and when not to. I sort of went over it then, but it's for, you need to like communicate with your faction pretty much. You might be in place 13, right? And then you might want to push top 10 in the last hour. You'd be like, all right, guys, we need to push. So everyone who's willing to push, get in the queue. If you're willing to coin can, get in the queue. Fast hitters, get in the queue. So pretty much it's organization. You need to plan ahead of what you're going to do. So if you know you're not going to reach the target, you might just not care what happens for the rest of the war. But if you really want to push for that, you like organize your faction. Be like, all right, guys, last year, let's get a few heavy hitters on. Our fastest, our strongest, and people are willing to go in and push. Very simple, but many people just don't plan ahead. Planning is so important in war. Another thing I'm just going to say is preparation before war. Before war, practice teams, set up defenses, practice on them. Practice. Practice makes the player so much more efficient. Like, if I don't practice, I know when I see a team, I'm like, what the fuck, what am I going to do? I'm stuck, I'm redundant, I'm useless. But if I practice against certain teams like that before war, I know what I'm doing. I know how to attack those teams. So practice before war. Ask your teammates to set up certain defenses. Ask your teammates to how you can improve your attack team. It's very simple. Just practice. And the last thing I'll leave you with is communication. As a faction, you need to all communicate very well. If one of you can't hit, communicate it. If one of you are low on coins or cans, communicate it. If you don't want to fight this, communicate it. If you want to fight it, communicate it. You need to be all on the same page, because if some people are pushing and some people aren't, it's going to piss the people who are pushing off, and the people who aren't pushing is like, well, I don't want to push. So communicate. Be all on the same page, and as a faction, decide on things. It'll help you increase your rankings. Like, you might not think it, but like, honestly, what I'm trying to say is, if people are happy warring in the faction, it makes them want to push more, do more for the faction, and overall just play more. Because if they're not happy with the faction, they'll just get milestones and then piss off. But if they actually care about the faction and want to get better and, you know, help the faction progress, they'll get on and try, you know, and try more. So honestly, this communication just makes things a lot more smoother. So if everyone's on the same page, everyone's not getting pissy at one another, and overall the faction environment is just a lot more friendly. So that's the video. I hope you all enjoyed, and yeah, peace.